Good morning, my favorite students in the world. It is Ferdi, the creator of Event Photography 101. And today, in today's video coaching newsletter, we're going to be answering this question. And it is, why do beginners blame flash when their reception photos look bad? Well, let's dive into it right now. If they're blaming their flash because their photos look bad, it's because they just don't understand flash. They don't know the principles. They don't understand that when you incorporate flash into a photograph, you're actually exposing for two different images compacted into one. You're exposing for the background image behind your subject, and then you're exposing for the subject itself, whether it's a cake or a person. They don't understand that. They also don't understand that there are particular settings that if you tweak the dials on your camera, it's going to change the brightness of your background, and it's going to change the brightness of your subject. And that's pretty much it. They don't understand yet which dials to tweak and change to create that balanced, harmonious cocktail of a photo where we mix both the background light, the ambience, and your subject, the flash that illuminates your subject here in the foreground or in the middle ground. So it's just a matter of understanding how to change the brightness of each of them and then bringing them in together and pressing the shutter button and celebrating and having a great photo that showcases the environmental context, like the fireplace and the DJ lights in the background, and then the flash is just illuminating the face in the foreground. That's what beginners don't understand. They just don't understand which settings to tweak to create that blend, that cocktail mix of the background image plus the foreground image. So which settings do we even tweak? They don't understand that shutter speed, the first most critical, crucial setting that they need to understand when it comes to incorporating flash into their image. Shutter speed controls how much of that ambient light behind your subject is soaking into the lens here in front of us. A slow shutter speed will allow more light to soak into the sponge, your sponge being your camera sensor. And therefore we can soak in more light and fun and energy and ambience from the background. It's as simple as that, just slow down the shutter speed. Now the next thing they don't understand is that a normal shutter speed of around 1/200 is a little bit too quick for especially dark environments. Not every environment and room that you're capturing in is built the same. You might have a DJ that has the best DJ lights in the world, and it's just lighting up the whole scene with color and fun. And therefore, in that case, you may not need to slow down your shutter speed to 1/30 or 1/10, but maybe just 1/80 or 1/100 is enough to catch and soak in those fun lights. Now, let's just say you have a DJ or a room, an environment you're capturing in, and you've got your flash, but there isn't really much light at all. There isn't really much ambient light to soak in. Well, what do you do then? Well, you're going to slow down that shutter speed and exaggerate the shutter speed window. Okay, so instead of capturing at 1/200, you're going to bump it down to 1/10 or 1/30 or 1/5. Okay, and so what that means is that there's more of a window for more light to keep on soaking in into your sponge. Okay, so another way to look at it is if you're soaking up some water on the kitchen bench, on the countertop. You've got your sponge, but you just do one quick swipe. Well, you're not going to be soaking up as much water if you were to keep on swiping and soaking up and wiping the counter bench for a whole minute, okay? One quick swipe versus a whole minute worth of soaking up the liquid on the kitchen countertop. It's the same thing here with your window. Keep it open for longer so that there's more light that's going to be soaked into your sponge, okay? So go for 1/5, go for 1/10. It does depend on your environment as well, because the environment can be bright or it can be dark. It's up to you to understand that and then just tweak your shutter speed for the background. Now let's move on to the foreground. Beginners fail to understand that changing the aperture, that setting, that dial, changes mostly the effect, the brightness on your subject, okay, from your flash. So really quickly, small hole, you've got a small aperture opening, which means that it's cutting out and blocking out a lot of the light from coming through into your sponge. But if we enlarge in that hole and make it huge, then we're letting in a lot more light. A lot more light is coming through your lens and being soaked up in your sponge, your sensor, your camera's sensor, okay? And this mostly determines how bright your subject is, okay? Big hole, big brightness effect. Little hole, small brightness effect on your subject. So aperture mostly controls the flash's brightness effect on your subject. Now let's move on to ISO. ISO mostly, this is another one that beginners fail to completely understand, is that ISO is really just changing the sensitivity of that sponge, the sensitivity of your camera sensor. Are you going to electrify the shit out of it, go and let it catch more light photons in the foreground and the background? Beginners fail to understand that ISO amplifies the sensor sensitivity to light. So it's catching light from the background and the foreground. All the light that's coming through, it's amplifying the light. Okay, so keep that in mind. ISO is usually tweaked as the last setting to tweak in the order and the sequence of changing your settings then and there in the scene. Why? It's because ISO is a good balancer, okay? So you've already set your shutter speed, you've already set your aperture. Now you can just top off the remaining gap. You can connect, you can fill in that gap and expose and bring in a little bit more of light or darkness just by tweaking that ISO setting. It's like the last thing you want to tweak at the very end. It's easy, it's convenient as well. You can bring in a lot more grain if you bump up the ISO a lot to like 3000 or something like that, and that's okay. It's having grain is better than having a dead photo, and we can always remove the grain later on. And sometimes the grain is looked upon in a bad way or a good way, depending on the feel and emotional connection, impact, story you want to be telling with your photograph. Yeah, and then lucky last, guys, is that if they're blaming their flash because their reception photos look bad, it's mostly because they don't know those 3 variables and settings, but also because they don't know the 2 other variables that come into play with the exposure triangle when they're taking photos with their flash. If they're blaming the flash, it's because they don't understand it, okay? They do not understand it. So it's up to you to discipline yourself, study it, get Event Photography 101, read that inside and out 10 times over, and practice it at your events. You need to know the 2 other variables, and they are your flash power. So you can bump up your flash power or down, and that's going to affect your subject's brightness. Is the cake or your couple or your person that you're photographing with your flash, are they going to be nuked white with a huge 100% 1/1 flash power and getting knocked out with a boxing glove? Or are you going to tame it down and just simply caress their face by having a 1/120, so a really soft and subtle flash, right? It's just softly touching their face. It's just illuminating their face. It's not punching them into oblivion or anything like that. So flash power is 1, and then lucky last is the distance between your flash and your subject, okay? The further you are away, the less light there is that is illuminating them, okay? So people forget, the beginners forget that. They might be capturing photos then and there in the event with their flash, and they're taking a few steps backwards and they're thinking, what the hell? It's darker all of a sudden. My subjects are darker all of a sudden. And it's because they took some steps away from this subject. The further you are away from your subject, the darker your subject, your flashing becomes. Now, vice versa, the opposite. The closer you are to your subject that you're flashing, the brighter the effect of the flash will have, okay? The beginners forget to understand that then and there in the event because they're thinking about settings and stressing about other things, okay? So, yeah, now don't forget, okay? You're taking steps forward and backwards. Know that it's going to affect the brightness of your subject that you're capturing. And that's pretty much it, guys. Those are the things, it's as easy as those 5 variables, okay? And knowing that you're exposing for 2 different images at once. The background versus your subject. Think of them as 2 different layers. They're separated, and you've got settings that affect each of them. You got to know which settings affect which layer. And that's it. Hope that helps. If you guys have any other questions, just leave them down below, and I am here to help. Love you lots, and I'll see you in tomorrow's lesson. Bye, and don't forget, get Event Photography 101 on Amazon. Wow.